The air was thick, humming with anticipation. I felt Jake's gaze, steady, intense. He'd been patient, waiting, holding back. But not anymore. I turned, meeting his eyes. He wasn't just watching now. I lifted my fingers, a quiet invitation. His breath caught, his body tensed. And then, he got up. His hands rested against my waist, holding me close as our bodies moved together. Every deep breath, every subtle movement kept my skin warm with lingering energy. "Don't stop," I murmured, my voice barely above a breath. The tension between us built, lingering, until my body melted completely against his. He let out a slow exhale, pulling me even closer as we settled into the quiet comfort of the moment. For a while, we just lay there, the warmth between us lingering. His fingers traced slow circles along my back, his chest rising and falling in steady waves. But something about the silence felt different. I turned my head slightly, watching him. "You're quiet." He let out a soft chuckle. "Just thinking." I smirked, letting my fingertips graze his skin. "About?" His hesitation was barely noticeable, but I caught it. "How good that was," I teased, laughing softly as I curled closer to him. "Yeah, it was." My fingers continued tracing idle patterns. "But have you ever thought about making it even better?" His breath hitched, just slightly. "Better?" I propped myself up on one elbow, watching him carefully. "We've always been adventurous, but what if we took it a step further?" His body tensed, just for a second. Subtle, but I noticed. That only made me more curious. "Come on," I coaxed, tilting my head. "I know you've thought about it." His gaze met mine, something flickering behind his eyes. A pause. Then, after a long exhale, he spoke. "There is something," he admitted, voice low. I arched a brow, anticipation curling in my stomach. "Tell me." He ran a hand through his hair. "I want to see you experience something different." I blinked. "Different?" His lips parted, choosing his words carefully. And then, finally, "Yes, but not another man. A woman." The words settled between us. Heavy, charged. I swallowed, pulse quickening. I wasn't sure if the heat rising in my chest was nerves or something far more dangerous. I opened my mouth, but no words came, because I wasn't sure how I felt about it. I couldn't shake the thought. It clung to me, slipping into my mind when I least expected it. Lying in bed, moving through my morning routine, even when I tried to focus on something else. His words lingered. At first, it felt absurd. I had never considered something like this. The idea of being with another woman, especially with Jake watching, should have been easy to dismiss. But it wasn't. The more I thought about it, the less strange it seemed. Curiosity crept in, quiet, but persistent. It wasn't just the idea itself that lingered. It was the way he would look at me, the way it might change things between us. Would it? That question haunted me more than I wanted to admit. Doubts pressed against the edges of my excitement. What if I went through with it and liked it too much? What if it made him see me differently? What if it made me see myself differently? It felt like stepping into something unknown, something I couldn't fully predict. And yet, beneath the uncertainty, something else stirred. A quiet thrill. The kind that lingered every time I thought about it. He wanted this, that much was clear. And if I was honest with myself, I wanted to know what it would feel like to give him what he wanted. The hesitation was still there, but it wasn't enough to stop me. I was going to do it. I didn't know how, I didn't know who, but I knew one thing. This wasn't just his fantasy anymore. Now it was mine, too. The following days passed in a blur. I told myself not to overthink it. I had made my decision. But once I did, the anticipation only grew. Every glance at him, every casual touch, it all made the excitement more real. I wasn't just agreeing to his fantasy. I was taking control of it. By the time I had everything arranged, the nerves were gone, replaced with something even more powerful. Exhilaration. The right person, the right time, the perfect way to reveal it. And now, all that was left was watching his reaction. That morning, as we lay in bed, I rolled over to face him. My fingers traced light patterns over his skin. He was still half asleep, his breathing slow and steady, unaware of the storm brewing inside me. I leaned in, my voice soft but firm. "I need you to be home by 8 tonight. No questions. Just trust me." His eyes flickered open, a lazy smile tugging at his lips. "What's happening at 8? I met his gaze, holding it just long enough to let curiosity sink in. "You'll see." His brows lifted slightly, but I could see the intrigue take hold. He wanted to ask more, but he knew me well enough to recognize when I wasn't going to give in. "All right," he finally said, stretching as he exhaled. "I'll be there." Here's the thing. By tonight, Jake's fantasy would no longer be just a fantasy. Evening came quicker than I expected. I met him at the door, my pulse steady, but just beneath the surface, something buzzed inside me. Anticipation, nerves, something I couldn't quite name. He didn't know what was waiting for him, and that made it all the more exhilarating. His brow lifted slightly as I took his hand, offering nothing more than a knowing smile. "Come with me," I murmured, leading him down the hall. The door was already slightly ajar, dim light spilling into the hallway. The moment we stepped inside, I felt the shift, the charged air, the weight of expectation. And then, he saw her. She was already waiting, poised on the edge of the bed, her posture effortless, the kind of confidence that made it clear she belonged there. Her gaze flickered over him briefly before settling on me. Something unreadable flashed behind her eyes. I heard the slow inhale Jake took, saw the way his body tensied ever so slightly. He wasn't just watching. He was absorbing, processing, realizing what this meant, what was about to happen. And then, she moved. Her fingers brushed against my wrist first. Just a light touch, barely there. Then higher, tracing up my arm, deliberate and teasing. I turned toward her, instinctively drawn in. My breath caught as her palm smoothed over my skin. There was something different about this. Unfamiliar. But intoxicating. The first kiss was soft, slow, exploratory. A tentative meeting of lips, testing, before deepening into something more. My body responded before my mind could catch up, leaning into her touch. My hands found her waist, feeling the warmth beneath my fingertips. A quiet exhale came from behind me. Low, controlled, but unmistakable. I didn't have to turn to know he was watching, that he was feeling every second of this, just as much as I was. We took our time, savoring the slow unraveling. Her hands moved with purpose, slipping beneath fabric, guiding me inch by inch into something deeper. Every brush of skin sent another ripple of warmth through me, the slow build of discovery making me shudder. And then, she took the lead. Her lips left mine, tracing a slow, deliberate path, savoring every touch. I barely registered the sensation of my shirt slipping away, of fingers ghosting over newly exposed skin. Every movement was controlled, effortless, as if she was tuned in to every single response I gave. I felt her mouth at my collarbone first, then lower, tracing along the curve of my torso with deliberate care. My breath faltered as she explored with unhurried precision, the sensation sending shivers through me. A light, lingering touch at my hips sent another jolt through my body, every part of me reacting instinctively. There was no rush, only the careful unraveling of anticipation, a slow-building heat that had me holding my breath. And then, her touch grew more intentional. A rush of warmth sprayed through me, making my breath catch. My breathing grew uneven, every motion drawing me further under, lost in the sensations around me. Her rhythm never faltered, a steady pace that built upon itself, each deliberate motion keeping me suspended in the moment. A sound from across the room, low, strained, broke through the haze. I turned my head slightly, vision blurring at the edges. Jake. He was still in the chair, but barely. His hands gripped the arms tightly, his chest rising and falling with measured restraint. His gaze was locked on me, his expression unreadable. But everything about him, his posture, his tension, spoke volumes. He was barely holding himself together. The air felt thick, weighted with unspoken understanding. He wasn't just watching anymore. He was caught in this just as much as I was. I met his gaze, my fingers reaching toward him, the movement small but deliberate. Nothing more than an invitation, a quiet acknowledgement that his presence mattered just as much as everything else in this moment. His hands loosened, his body tensed. And then finally, he got up. The moment he stepped forward, the energy in the room shifted. I felt it before I even saw him, the weight of his presence, the heat of his skin as he came closer. His hands found my waist, fingers pressing in just enough to send a quiet thrill through me. When I looked up, his eyes were already on mine, dark, intense, filled with something unspoken. Then his lips were on mine. The kiss was deep, filled with everything words couldn't express. a slow pull, a quiet surrender. I melted against him. His warmth surrounded me as his hands traced my back. "Thank you," he murmured, his voice low against my lips. A shiver ran down my spine, not just from his words, but from the way he said them. Like this moment was everything he had ever wanted. And then, she moved. A shift on the bed. The weight of her presence felt before I even turned my head. She was watching him, watching us. A slow, knowing smile curved her lips. There was no hesitation in her gaze, no uncertainty, just quiet confidence as she leaned in, fingers trailing over his stomach. Lower, until he let out a sharp exhale. She kissed down Jake's body, her touch exploring, teasing. My lips stayed on his, my hands tangled in his hair, feeling the quiet tremor running through him. His breath was heavier now, slower, his body reacting to every delicate movement she made. His fingers tightened on my back as she grew more focused, a deep sound slipping from his throat. I felt his breath catch against my lips, and his reaction sent something electric through me. The way his body tensed, the way his fingers dug into my hips like he needed something to ground himself. It was intoxicating, to watch, to feel him react, to sense every shift in his breath, every shudder beneath my touch. And then, I moved with her. I trailed kisses down his jaw, along his neck, feeling the heat of his pulse beneath my lips. Lower still, until I was beside her. Our movement synced in silent understanding. His head fell back, his breath uneven, lost in the moment between us. Every sound he made sent a fresh wave of heat through me, fueling everything, pulling me deeper. I could feel the tension radiating from him, his hands gripping the sheets. But we weren't done yet. A shift, a change in position. She was on the bed now, beneath me, her breath warm against my skin. I felt her hands guide me, settling me into place. A sharp inhale left my lips as she began. My fingers curled into the sheets as sensation flooded through me. Slow, teasing strokes dragging me under, making my head fall back. And then, him, the weight of his body against hers. The deep exhale that left his lips as he moved with intent. A quiet gasp escaped her breath hitching against my skin. I felt every shift beneath me, his presence, steady, unyielding. The intensity of it, undeniable. His hands steadied her. Every movement he made drew a reaction beneath me. Her breath, her hands, the brush of her lips against me. It was all too much, an intoxicating mix of sensation that sent my pulse racing. But it was him that undid me. The way he looked at me, his gaze locked onto mine, dark, heavy, intense. Every movement he made sent a shiver through both of us. But it was the way he never looked away. The way he reached for me, fingers brushing against my skin, lips capturing mine. That was what unraveled me completely. My body tensed, my breath caught, and the sensation overtook me, in waves. I wasn't alone. He groaned deeply, his grip tightening, his body trembling as the moment consumed him. His voice lingered, low, rough, saying my name. Then, silence, his forehead pressed against mine, breath still uneven. A slow, satisfied exhale slipped from his lips. A small, breathless laugh left me, my fingers still tangled in the sheets. I turned my head slightly, my lips brushing against his ear. "Happy?" I whispered. His arms wrapped around me, pulling me close, pressing a lingering kiss to my shoulder. "More than." We stayed there for a while, wrapped up in each other, our bodies warm, tangled in soft sheets and silence. But it wasn't an awkward silence. It was full, complete content. Her breathing slowed against me. Jake's arms stayed firmly around my waist, as if letting go would break the moment. The room still held that charged energy, but it had shifted, no longer pulsing with anticipation or nerves, but with something else. Satisfaction, closeness, trust. I closed my eyes, letting myself melt into the stillness, every nerve in my body still humming with memory. Jake's fingers traced lazy circles against my back. Her hand rested gently on my thigh. There was no need for words. Everything had already been said, felt, given. But still I found myself whispering, "Was this what you imagined?" Jake didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice was low, quiet, but steady. "No," he said. "It was more." Because it wasn't just about the fantasy, it was about us. I turned my head slightly, meeting his gaze. And in his eyes, I didn't see hunger or even surprise. I saw reverence. He kissed my forehead gently, then looked at her, softly with gratitude. She smiled, nodding slightly, as if to say, I know. The night faded slowly. We didn't rush it. No one dressed right away. No one pulled away too soon. Eventually, she stood, stretching in the soft light, her figure glowing. She walked to the door, and just before stepping out, she turned to me. Not with possessiveness, not with longing, but with something simpler. Appreciation. Thank you, she said, voice velvet smooth, for trusting me. And then she left, quiet as she'd arrived. Jake and I lay in silence again, the door clicking softly behind her. I didn't expect to feel this close to you after, I admitted, voice barely audible in the dark. He tightened his hold around me. That's because we didn't lose anything. We just added something. I smiled to myself, heart steady, because he was right. What started as his fantasy became something deeper, a moment of connection, of surrender, of shared vulnerability. And in the end, what we built wasn't just heat, it was honesty. And I wouldn't trade it for anything.